now to look at what the papers are saying on their front pages. And this morning we have, I have joining me in the studio, Dr. Yobasa Owujeren. Glad to have you join me this morning.
Good morning.
Yobasa. All right, fine. Let's immediately dive into this. Let's look at this day. This day, most papers, by the way, has this on their front pages. Oh, well, this day has it on its front pages. This day says, with rising subsidy costs, NNPC finally admits owing foreign petrol suppliers huge debts. You go to Vanguard, you get it. You go to Daily Trust, it's there. Can we flash those papers? You go to Punch, you see it on these papers. Almost all the papers are carrying this. Yobasa, and what this day is saying here is that situation causing oil company financial strain. We will get to article demanding. One of the papers has that story, but NNPC has been denying this. It was reported in the foreign papers for some time, but NNPC has continued to deny this, and now they're saying, well, it is facing financial strain, thereby impacting supply and sustainability and posing substantial threats to national fuel supply. This day learned that the situation has further worsened by falling value of the naira against the US dollar, as well as rising international price of crude oil and other costs. In different instances, as the news became public, the NNPC has blamed weather conditions, including thunder and lightning, flooding, bad roads for the long fuel lines across the country. But now it's coming out to say it's owing about $6 billion, and this is causing a strain. What do you make of this, the whole gamut of the story?
Well, I think this is very correct in the way they presented the stories. They've been denying, perhaps they were looking for ways to manage the information when it became very clear that they cannot continue with the way they were going. You remember some time ago, there's a foreign media organization that reported that NNPC was owing his supplier almost about $6.3 billion, and that might likely affect the supply of PMS to Nigeria from the suppliers, although they keep on denying it. But it became very obvious, maybe since last week, that there's no way they were going to continue with that denial. And they needed to come out with the true position. And don't forget that this is also coming at a point that the NNPC claimed to have declared billions of Naira's profit in their annual report, which was presented recently, even though some experts tried to pick holes in that report. But I think the truth of the matter is that NNPC is broke, and they are finding it very difficult to continue along that line. Now, the position is that we are told that by December, the subsidy will amount to almost about 5.4 trillion naira. And that is huge. I doubt whether the federal government can continue with that. If you want to continue with that, that means you have to borrow more money to be able to subsidize PMS. Now, what they are saying is that, what the NNPC is saying is that, for example, if they buy PMS from the global market, maybe at about 1,400 naira, and the federal government asks them to sell at about 650 or 670 naira.
There's a shortfall.
There's a shortfall, which means that the shortfall will be taken care of by the NNPC. I think that's what is causing the problem. I'm told during the week by an insider that the smuggling of this fuel is also contributing to it. You know, remember when the fuel subsidy was removed by the president on May 29, the consumption dropped to about 30,000 of liters daily. But we're told during the week that it has up to about 60,000 because of the smuggling, which means that even though the federal government is subsidizing PMS, and the neighboring countries also benefiting from it. Yep. So of what use when you are subsidizing and 30% of that what you are subsidizing is going to a foreign country? So why would Nigeria continue to subsidize foreign countries' consumption of our fuel? I think that is the problem. And the question would be how come the security agencies were not able to prevent the smuggling of the fuel? And some people said, look, the people who are involved are powerful people. And there was a time when these people were building refineries very close to the borders. So they were using it as an avenue to smuggle fuel, to the neighboring country. the security agencies went after them, destroyed those filling stations. But unfortunately, it's not solving the problem. I think the problem is with smuggling, and of course the exchange rate is very high. So with the way things are now, it is likely that in the next few days or few weeks, the federal government might be tempted to increase the price. I mean, the price of PMS and other petroleum products in our open market.
Isn't it funny, Yobusa? Over the years, we only have 4 refineries. Till date, are not working. They have not been refining or bringing out products. No new ones built. You tell the country, the borders, there's smuggling. It is smuggling, Yobusa. What is supposed to be done? Is it not on the table of the federal government to stop smuggling? Must you go back to the same public and punish them when you want to increase fuel? Over time, we're told if you increase fuel, no fuel lines then. But that seems to be a lie. So the question of trust between government, particularly with what NNPCL has done, they were lying over time, but now they're coming out to say the truth.
Now, coming to the refineries that we have in the country that are not working. You remember during the President Olusegun Obasanjo's regime, when he came on board, he asked the expert in the industry to do an assessment of the refineries that we have in the country. And the report they submitted to him was that, for him to, turn around those refineries, the cost of it will be enough to build a model refineries. So on the basis of that, the passenger said, look, I'm going to sell it. Even if I'm going to sell it for 10 naira, I will sell it so that the private sector can take care of those things. And it was, I think the process was on, and they could not conclude it until the Yar'Adua government came on board. And when Yar'Adua government came on board, he was forced to reverse those decisions. Now, except we want to tell ourselves, or except we want to keep on deceiving ourselves, many experts said, look, the cost, even though we have wasted billions of naira trying to turn around Kaduna Refinery, Port Harcourt Refinery, and Warri Refinery, we spent billions of dollars in the last 20 years. But unfortunately, it is not working. And experts believe that the cost, what it will cost Nigerian or federal government to turn around those refineries will be enough to build a model refineries, about 4 model refineries. So on the basis of that, I don't think the issue of turning around refineries will be solved in the nearest time. But I think what we need to do is to find a way
around it.
Find a way around it.
Well, I think
but the issue of smuggling is something that the security agencies should treat. As a matter of urgency, because it has become a national security issue.
Atiku says NNPCL should go to the stock exchange, and then he says NNPCL is a cesspool of corruption. Well, now let's look at the Vanguard. Let's look at Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard says high interest rate, 2.5 trillion naira loans strangulates consumer goods manufacturers. It says pay 600 billion naira interest on loans as rates rise 108%. Losses rise by 839.1% to 406.8 billion, while loan is unsustainable. Analysts are saying this. So high interest rate charged by banks and other lending institutions, coupled with other cost of operations, have become a major challenge impeding growth of the manufacturing industry. Yobusa.
When the CBN kept, increasing the interest rate, and that, I think that was part of the complaint by many stakeholders, especially the Manufacturing Associations of Nigeria, because we're already having serious economic challenges in Nigeria. The exchange rate is very high, coupled with other challenges, and when the CBN kept increasing the exchange rate, most stakeholders complained bitterly that their policies might hinder manufacturers, in the country, because come to think of it, many manufacturers rely on borrowing money from the government, from the money market, from banks, to sustain their businesses. Now, when you keep on doing that, it means that they might be forced to, pull back a little, because if you borrow money and you are expected to pay huge interest rate, how do you break even? How do you pay back when there's a serious economic challenges in our country, when there's a huge lack of purchasing power among the citizens. So, for example, if you are producing something and most Nigerians are not buying because they don't have the resources to buy those goods, how do you make profit? And if you don't make profit, there's no way you can pay back the loan. So the point is that the interest rate is very high, and I think the CBN, the money market regulatory body, should find a way to look into that and see how they can reduce it. Of course, they keep on giving this excuse, it's an attempt to control the inflationary rate that we have in our country. But people keep on saying that how many cash, for example, do we have in circulations, that will inform the CBN to keep on increasing the exchange rate. So for me, I think the CBN has to choose between crippling the Nigerian economy and we find a way to also control the inflation rate that they are trying to control.
Let's look at two stories that, still bordering on the same thing. In Guardian says, let's see here, it says, FCCPC, that is the competition, what's it again? Let me remember that.
Consumer Protection
Commission.
Yes.
Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. He says that gives matching order. Business claim victims of government policies fault tackling inflation by fiat. Businesses are claiming that they're the victims of government policies. And something like that we have also in the Punch. Nigeria has second highest rate of food insecurity. This is coming from Bill Gates. The two issues are talking about the same thing. You want to treat them together.
Yeah, of course. You remember the head of that commission, Tunji Bello, over the weekend.
Yep.
Gave matching order to supermarket and others players in the market.
And price gouging.
Yes, giving them maybe a month, to reduce the prices of their goods. And the response of the stakeholders was that, look, how can you give a matching order when you know that there are other factors responsible for the price increase? For example, we talk about the exchange rate now. Insecurity,
multiple taxation,
lack of infrastructures, the huge amount of money they pay for electricity bill every month, the exchange rate, you have to go to the so-called black market, to search for foreign exchange to import their goods, and the cost of transportation, the cost of electricity, so many things. And the commission is not taking that into consideration, and you are giving matching order. So for me, it appears that matching order was, for me, is senseless and doesn't make sense at all. Because if you are giving matching order, the federal government also need to take care of other things, other factors that is driving the increase.
I had an economist here over the weekend and this week.
It's a big issue that the federal government need to tackle.
Yeah, I had an economist here over the week. He was talking about the fact that, that if anything should happen, it should start from the top. Exactly. He talked about fuel, he talked about electricity and all other things. All right, we will get back, we'll take a breath now and get back and look at what the international papers are saying on their front pages. Don't go. All right, glad to have you back. Let's look now at some. I still have Yobosa here with me, and it's still the paper review. We're looking at papers, but look, now it's international. Let's look at the Times. It says Germany's far right has first big win since the Nazis. This is quite interesting. Yobosa, what I have here is AFD projected to hold a third of seats in Thuringia, Conservatives second on 0.8% results. Punish shows coalition. All three parties lose votes. AFD, that is the alternative party, which is the far right, may hold blocking minority on key law and other issues. What is this saying about the trend of events worldwide when the far right is winning in Germany for the first time in their history?
Yeah, I think it's a very good development in the political history of Germany. I think since the end of the Civil War, which and this is the first time that the far right is making a huge impact in the regional elections. And I saw yesterday when some journalists were trying to interview the voters, the electorate, what informed their decisions. And they said that the government of the day, that they were too strict about their immigration policies.
Laws, okay.
So on the basis of that, they needed to punish them with their votes. And for me, that's a very interesting development. It's something that other countries should also take note of, and that this era of where you are elected into power and you do certain things that you like, and thinking that the electorates are not important, they are becoming very active. They are becoming very active in participating in the politics, and the trend is all over the world. So if you are elected into offices, in public offices, there's need for you to keep on listening to the yearnings of the people. If you don't do that, they will punish you with their votes.
But are there dangers
in the next elections?
In this, or is it the far right or extreme? Do you see dangers in or don't you see? I mean, yeah, fine and good. Britain, UK is trying to coddle the EU states after their Brexit.
Yeah.
They're seeing now that there's a need to. The world is a village. But is that not a danger with what the far right, or is it extreme right does?
It's democracy. It's democracy. And if you don't want people to win elections, if you don't want people to take power from you, and there are certain policies there are certain things you need to do, to prevent that. But if you are seen to be working against the interest of the people, and the people now have the capacity to mobilize and take over, and challenge you. And I think that's exactly what the far right did in these elections. So they've been able to win regional elections for the first time since the end of the Civil War. So it is a huge development
lesson
for leaders, political leaders.
All right, we'll see how that plays out. Now, protests in Israel. This is the Guardian. Protest. Let's look at the Guardian. Protests in Israel. Just give me a moment there. Protests turn on Netanyahu in fury, protesters actually, over deaths of 6 hostages. I mean, in the US elections, this question of Gaza war has been on the front burner with the nominee of the Democratic Party, Kamala Harris, saying that, yes, Israel has a right to defend itself, but many people are dying needlessly in Gaza, and there's a need, thirdly, for a peace pact, for the war to end. What do you make of this people protesting against Netanyahu and his stance on continuing with the war, saying that he wants to totally dislodge Hamas?
Yes, I watched him yesterday in Arise TV. The man was angry. He was angry and said, "Look, those who were responsible for the killings of those 6 persons will be held down. That they will look for them and all that." So, which, for me, it's an indication that the war will not end very soon. Although some military strategies in the Israel are saying that, look, what happened might force the prime minister to a negotiating table. And, they have been, the reason why they've not been able to, resolve this ceasefire talk is because of who control the buffer zones. And the Israel believe that that zone is used by the Hamas, to smuggle arms into Gaza. So on the basis of that, it will be unreasonable to allow them to control that zones. But of course, the Gazans and the Egyptians are opposed to that. And I think that's exactly what is responsible for the inability to resolve this matter, and what led to the killings of those 6 persons. I think what informed the riot or the protest is that I think there's an attempt to force the prime minister to a negotiating table, so that they can agree on this matter, so that they can resolve the matter once and for all, so that those who are held hostage, will be released. But the prime minister appeared not to be looking that way. He believed that they must continue with the war on things, the so-called terrorists. I'm talking of the Hamas, and totally eliminated from that territory. I think that's his
we'll hope that there, because America.
I don't know how far he can go with that.
Because I know that President Biden at one point in his speech banged the table and said there has to be peace, and that's what Kamala Harris is speaking to as well. All right. Lastly, just in under 1 minute or thereabout, Daily Mirror. It says, as pupils return to class, Daily Mirror. Let's look at Daily Mirror. As pupils return to class, race hate Surges in schools call for action after 25% rise in kids sent home for racist behavior. This trend, how dangerous is it? Almost 60 children a day were suspended from school for racism last year.
Yeah. For me, that's a very horrifying development. The fact that people are still, this racism is still very high, especially in secondary school. And I think the report says that the pupils are repeating perhaps what they are hearing from their parents and from what they are
regurgitating. Yeah.
Regurgitating, I know that. So they come to school to want to repeat such thing. And I think the school authorities are finding it very horrifying, finding it very unacceptable. And the research or the report or the exclusive report shows that the number is increasing. That's almost on a daily basis. They send about 60 people home for this kind of racism. For racism, and for me, it is a very
dangerous
development, and the authority should find a way to manage that.
Thank you so much.
But it's been on for a very long time.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's increasing shows that the federal government, the government is not doing enough, to resolve the matter.
Curtail it.
Even if they are doing enough, they should do more to resolve the matter.
Yeah. Even if they're doing enough, they should do more. Of course, you can never get enough of doing more in this kind of situation. Thank you so much, Yobers Owujeren, here on the Paper Review. And that's all we have time for on Daybreak this morning.